Hey guys, welcome back to Total Tailgating. I've been away for a long time, but I'm really excited to be back making a recipe with you today. Double smash bacon cheeseburgers, and for the first time ever, got a guest. And I'm at the guest's home today. So Ryan, thank you for having me. And what's up, man?
It's a little colder than we were hoping for today, but I'm super excited to get some burgers and just talk a little ball. Man.
Yeah. Wisconsin did not necessarily provide the kind of weather that but we kick off the grill season this way.
Right.
We're trendsetters. So we're looking forward to doing this. We are doing a smash burger. So this is a particularly smashed burger. You put it on the grill and you mash it down and you do all that work before the fat starts to render. That will keep that patty juicy, even though you get a lot of Maillard reaction now for my money with this one, because we're doing it on the grill, or this grill back here. But it's a smash burger, so it's on a cast iron skillet. We won't get as much smoke. So The idea here is we're going to have bacon on this burger, which is probably not a bad idea anyway.
It sounds great.
Yeah. So we'll put bacon on it. We'll be able to add back a little bit of that smoke, and then we'll get all the Maillard reaction. You get that nice crust and the nice thin patty that everybody loves in a smash burger. All right? So let's get to it. Okay, guys, one thing I neglected to mention, I do want to give a heartfelt thanks to Alicia, Ryan's wife, who has lent me her husband for a little bit on a Saturday afternoon, the Saturday before Easter Sunday morning. So much appreciated there. For this recipe, we are going to dice up some onions. We're going to make some sauteed mushrooms. We'll probably use a little of the bacon grease to saute those, just to, again, try to infuse that smokiness that we, to some extent, lose when you're making a smash burger. We'll throw in some token carrots for the vegetable end of things. So what we really need to do is prep right now. And in case you haven't seen before, there's a little trick to mincing the onion, and I'm going to show you that. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. Some people get really involved to make sure all the pieces are exactly the same size. I'm just going to show you a trick to get it done pretty fast. Now, Ryan, you can comment on this, because when the draft rolls around, we're trying to spend as little time as possible making our food. We just got to get to work, because we work on draft day. So this is going to be easy. This is going to be fast. All we have to do to start is top and tail. So we're going to cut the top and the root, and I'm leaving a little bit of the root together. Split the onion in half and peel it. So you want to peel it down until you get that first really good layer of onion. Once you've done that, the typical way to do this is what's called the suicide cut. So you're going to bend your fingers back and you're going to slice the onion all the way through to the root, but leave it connected to the root in as whatever size portions you want. So you'll cut it along here like that, and then when you slice it, it breaks off into dice. Now, that takes a little bit of time, it takes a little bit of effort, and it's called the suicide cut for a reason. You wouldn't want to teach your kids to do that one right out of the gate. Now, there is a trick you can do that will give you virtually the same results, but doesn't take half as much time. If I cut radially from the root with the tip of my knife, standing up in the middle, and then working my way around this way, then I will get virtually that same dice. So what you end up doing is cutting it like this, all the way around, and you no longer need to do that suicide cut. So it's not quite as precise, but it works just as well. So this is how that works. And you still want to keep your fingers out of it, obviously. Now, as soon as I go to dice this, those come off in a nice dice, whatever size I want at this point. But you can see saving that step is not only a little bit safer, especially when you've got a round, we've got a flat end on this onion, but these things can roll around you. It can be a very dangerous vegetable to cut. So as fast as that, we are done with our dice. We're going to make some carrot sticks. We're going to slice up some mushrooms to, again, saute in our bacon grease, and I will show you that in just a minute. Okay, well, we continue with the prep here. We've got some mushrooms we just want to slice up. This is going to be real easy. I'll do that, but while we're doing that, why not talk about the Packers a little bit?
Got to do it.
For crying out loud. Draft is coming, getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
And the Packers with 5 picks in the top, 59 or something around there.
Yeah, they're loaded. They're definitely loaded this year.
But I just noticed today there are 8 teams that do not have a first-round draft pick.
Right.
And so presumably then there are 8 that have more than one.
Right.
And the Packers being one of them, but we're picking pretty late. Do you think that has some effect on the strategy? Are the Packers just going to stay pat because they know what they're doing?
I think the one complication with that is you've got teams that are looking at multiple different positions. So whereas you can probably look at a team and say, well, they're looking at, say the Saints, they're looking at quarterback, right? But they've got a second pick. So what are they going to do with the second? They're probably looking at something else. Probably going to load them up with an offensive tackle, which we need. Going to load them with a wide receiver that we need. So yeah, I mean, it does kind of create that bit of a complication. At the end of the day, 21 picks is 21 picks, and then we're on the board. But I think it is going to give you a little bit of a spread of what positions are covered, because you're not going to see teams probably double up.
Right.
So you're going to see, quarterback, wide receiver, offensive tackle, edge rusher. So there's going to be some heartbreak in there as the Saints pick a player and we're like, oh, good, we didn't need that guy anyways, and then that second one's going to be a heartbreaker, I think. But
it's going to happen. Well, and the one team that I think might double down is the Green Bay Packers at wide receiver. Do you think there is a possibility of that? I mean,
if I had to put money down, I would feel comfortable saying it won't happen. But if they were, for any reason, wanting to make the fan base a happy fan base, I mean, including me, because I'm even sitting here saying, it's not that big of a deal. You don't need to double down. We've got other needs, offensive line, and I can
sign Sammy Watkins.
I can talk rationally, but as a fan, if we double up at wide receiver, I'm going to be jumping up and down screaming.
We'll all be turning cartwheels without a doubt. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's an exciting time, and I think you touched on this today. The Packers know what they're doing. That's the one thing that's hard for me as a fan is I know what I want,
right?
But what I want is almost typically not what the Packers best interest necessarily. And I think you went to, hey, if we need to pick a quarterback, you pick a quarterback. If it's the right pick, they're just going to do it,
right?
But I would suspect too that it's not going to be doubling down on wide receivers. Where do you think edge rushers come in? I wouldn't be surprised if edge rusher isn't one of those first picks, but
yeah, I mean, the Packers like to use premium picks on premium positions, right? So tackle, edge rusher, quarterback, those kinds of things. And so that's part of the reason I think if wide receiver at all, which I know that's an uncomfortable conversation that they may not take a wide receiver, but if at all, it'll probably be one. And then you're looking at probably offensive tackle, edge rusher are probably the most likely.
Yeah.
And given the depth of the edge rusher group, that would be where my money's at. Whereas, if you look at tackle, all the top guys are gone in the top 10. You got Penning maybe prior to 15.
Right.
And then you got Bernard Raymond, who's, small school, older guy. So I don't know that there's that many great options at tackle, but edge rusher, man, you got some real studs that are probably going to be available. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, and if you look at the mock drafts, that's what most have us doing is wide receiver, edge rusher. I think that probably makes the most sense.
I do too, and I mean, it kind of fits where the draft, like it kind of fits the characteristics of this year's draft. We're not as desperate for offensive tackle, even though that's definitely, we've got to figure out that right tackle situation at some point. But, like you say, edge rusher and wide receiver, in whatever order you do it, you're going to have a lot of depth at the edge rusher position, but then that extra athleticism at wide receiver, still with 2 in the second, I think they can feel pretty comfortable sticking and picking.
Yep.
And I wonder if, teams that are desperate for quarterbacks and have 2 picks aren't going, listen, we're going to get our quarterback, but I also want one of those tackles.
Right.
I got to protect that kid. If he's going to be successful.
Well, that's the thing. If you get a quarterback, your first priority then becomes make him successful. So you're looking at wide receiver, you're looking at offensive tackle.
Yep. And I got to admit, the longer time goes on, the more happy I am that we are not paying Devontae Adams that contract that he would have got here.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because as soon as we got rid of Devontae, we started thinking we're flush with cash, and you come to find out we're actually still kind of tight. So if we're giving him a big contract, we would be in pretty serious trouble. Even in the future now, you're looking at it going, man, we got, you got to pay Jair, and you're going to have to pay Rashawn on top of David Bakhtiari's contract and Kenny's contract and Rodgers' contract all going up. So it kind of surprised me that the Packers were so adamant of keeping him, because I'm looking at it going, how in the world would you even make that work?
Yeah, because they did offer it. Like, I was surprised to find that out. It's like, no, they did offer it. And I was looking at the, last year's picks at 22 and 28, and that added up to almost almost 7 million that round alone. Of course, it drops off real fast, but we got 2 in the second. Those are 3.5 apiece.
Right.
You're talking a significant amount of money And I think it's getting overlooked because usually you had 6 or 7 picks. When you have 11 picks and you got 4 that high, even 5, it's going to be an expensive draft.
It is. It's going to be expensive, and on top of all the other stuff you got to pay for. We got to pay for the other guys on the roster.
Right.
We're going to want to carry some money into the season, so you want that $5 to $10 million buffer. I mean, we're basically flat broke right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've been, and I think this is what I've been thinking lately. I think the Packers are just riding the idea that, well, wait a minute, at some point, Aaron Rodgers' numbers coming off this, and we'll be saved by not paying him.
Right.
But yet they're finding ways to pay him for now, and to keep the team together, get a first and a second out of Davante Adams, who, and I know you've been highlighting, the most difficult thing when you're operating at the highest level is to make incremental improvements. It's really becomes a fine tuning, and he was able to do that to his credit. But how long is that going to last? Now you go to a new... I know he's best friends with Derek Carr, but I don't know how much that really does for you on a football field when you haven't played with the guy.
Yeah, it's funny because with Davante, I've been saying for about 3 years, I'm thinking, well, he peaked, so now you're going to get the decline, and it just never came. But we are at a point where it's like, how much better can a human being actually be? I don't want to count out Davante. He's fantastic, but I don't know that there's too much further up for him to go. And then you factor in new team, new system, new quarterback, plus his age. I mean, it just feels like I'm not expecting a massive drop off, but I'd be surprised if he's even on par with what he did last year. It would be pretty shocking to me.
Yep, me too. I'm expecting a drop off. I'm still expecting him to be a fantastic player.
Yes.
And frankly, I think there's something to be said. The Raiders are making moves and out in the AFC West, right?
Yeah.
If you're not doing something, if you're not growing, you're going to die.
Exactly.
That's a bad place to have to play football. Right?
You got people who are building up, historic teams right now just so that they can have a winning record because they're going to be bludgeoning each other out there.
Oh, man. And as long as it's AFC, I'm okay with it.
Exactly. You guys bloody yourselves way out of our division.
Right. Yep. And make sure there's just enough injury count by the time you get to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Okay, guys, as we continue our prep, I'm just going to simply open this bag of carrots, peel them, and the big ends, I'll generally cut them in half, maybe thirds, depending on how long they are, and then quarter them on the big half and have them on the front where it's a little bit thinner. Basically trying to get these down into kid-friendly sizes and encourage the little ones to eat their vegetables. That's always a good thing. And many of the adults need to be encouraged as well. Major source of colloidal minerals in particular that the body needs. So we've got our carrots going here. While I'm doing that, I just want to once again thank my co-host today, Ryan Schlipp. And since I forgot to have Ryan tell y'all where to find him, I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all where to find him. He's running the Packernet podcast. That's a daily Packers podcast and one that you should be listening to. If you are not already, haven't heard about him from me before or from wherever, he'll be on every podcasting platform that you can probably think of. And it's the Packernet podcast. If you want to follow him on Twitter, that's Pack_Daddy. You can catch up with him there as well. And so now you can see as one of the little ones goes through the screen up there I saw. I didn't see that in the first place. But we're about ready to go ahead and make our sauce. For the sauce, I will simply put about a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of mayo in a bowl. Add to that a tablespoon of mustard, 2 tablespoons of ketchup. And then, obviously, you can make this however you want. This is just the way we made it. We had dill pickles that I've got on the side there, so I minced up some of the dill pickles, and you can use sweet pickle relish in that as well, and that will be very similar to like the sauce on a Big Mac burger. You can add some sriracha, heat it up a little bit, put whatever in there that you want. Minced onion, have a little fun with it. That's just what we're doing today. So, with that done, we do need to do a little bit of work on our burger as well before we finish our completely finished with our prep. For that, generally speaking, when I'm working with meat like this, I'm going to use a scale just to keep things consistent. Again, this is a draft day recipe is the idea here. We don't want to be fooling around with that on draft day. Ryan, I'm sure, would agree. That's not anything I want to futz with on draft day. So I'm just going to cut this into sixths, basically. And then as it's a smash burger, all we need to do is ball them up into, 2 3-ounce balls. the more you roll them, you're actually, the warmth of your hand will actually render the fat a little bit, and you'll get a little better feathering and a little more Maillard reaction when you do smash these burgers. But I'm in a little bit of a hurry. Again, draft day, we're calling this a draft day recipe. So I'm going to be in a little bit of a hurry, not worry about that so much. But that is one tip that I'd like to add, something I've discovered on my own, frankly, is that if you roll them a little bit longer, they're going to be a little more compact, which is important when you're smashing them down because they can fall apart on you a little bit because they're relatively thin. But if you render that fat with the warmth of your hands, just a little bit, you'll get a really nice feathering to that, and that gives you those crispy edges. Maybe a little bit of a trade-off here. I might not have them. Mine right now might not be quite that good, but they're going to be delicious anyway. All right, so let's go ahead with this prep done and head to the pickup. Okay, well, it is warmed up a little bit outside. It's not too bad now.
It's not bad.
We did heat the kitchen up, so it's definitely the house is warm.
Smells
now.
good too.
That's right. It smells like bacon.
Yes,
yeah,
it does.
Nothing wrong with that. So we got the grill at, Maillard reaction happens between about 330 degrees and up to, your 450s. We got the lid back on because we had one that hit 290, but most everything is at 330 and above. And so we're going to let that warm up for a second. And what that's going to do is Maillard reaction is that heating of the juices that's going to cause the browning, and that's what we're looking for in this particular kind of burger. So we're going to get that in spades because we're smashing it down onto a cast iron griddle, which will give you more than laying it in on your grill grates because you only get you have to have contact for that Maillard reaction. So we will throw a few of these down, and then I'll turn it over to you, let you do the rest of them, and
Can't wait.
We're going to be ready to eat. All right, so now the trick is all we got to do is you don't even have to make patties for these burgers, which is kind of a nice thing. And so all we got to do is lay them on there, a nice hot griddle, and smash them down. And I like to take this spatula scraper combination, and I can feather these out without hopefully pulling them too far apart. And then once I've smashed them, I want to leave them alone. You can see this one's a little bit thin there, but we're already getting color on that. I'll do a couple of these. And you can make them as thin or as thick as you want, but the trick is to make sure and get the smashing done before you start rendering the fat, because that's the part where if you're squishing it, you can push the juices out real fast and easy. But up to this point, we'll still have a juicy burger guaranteed. All right, Ryan, you want to give it a try here?
Let's try it.
All right, let's switch. There we go. Okay.
So now we get the benefit of seeing that this is not as easy as it looks.
And you can buy the little, the smashers too, which
Sure,
might be
yeah.
better. I just like to do them with this particular because I'm used to this particular setup, so I use it for all kinds of stuff, and I have it on hand. Yeah, we can probably work those forward. These are probably ready to flip. And I don't know if you can see, but look at that, the brown edges. Now that one's going to be, now that's a crispy, and yet the meat can still be juicy.
Yep.
And another thing I love to do, I had a chef that taught me this, is to get the cheese on, and then, ooh, that's even got a little char on it. Get the cheese on and let it melt right down onto the grates as well, and that creates that that crispy cheese as well. So I think we can do that. Masterful. Masterful. And I will run over and grab, we may have to do, because we're cooking this, so we'll do that and maybe put the cooked ones here because we don't have that.
You could drag the kids' table over.
Oh, that's true. Now we're team effort. Yeah, and then that cheese that drips down on is nice and crispy too.
Yeah. Is it good, you think?
Yeah, I would say so. They cook nice and fast
Yeah.
too. You don't have to baby them too much.
Yeah.
Oh, that cheese is just dripping.
We got buns and some butter so we can toast these up a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Okay, bro, this was fun. It was chilly but fun, and we're ready to plate this sucker up, and then let's all eat some food.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like I was telling you, I'm going to make the most boring burger you've ever seen in your life, but since I'm dad, I'm going to make it a double. How's that sound?
Dang right, yeah.
And I think I'll be maybe a little bit adventurous and put some ketchup on it, but, you know,
Walking the razor's edge with that one.
I'll live it up a little bit. Only live once.
That's right. And listen, if spring hasn't sprung for you, you just got to go for it.
I do have one other addition to make here. Sprecher root beer.
Oh, yeah. Stuff that I can't get in Tennessee
There we go.
where I'm from. Yeah.
There she is on the toasted bun.
Let's cut that in half with your knife. I think we need to see. Oh, we got ketchup and cheese and everything coming around. Guys, I mean, grilling season is almost here. It can't stay away forever. And this is fast, this is easy, but it's loaded with flavor, and you can add whatever you want to it. And you can see that's a patty right there. That's gonna do it. Yeah. Good stuff, man. You ready to eat?
Let's do it.
All right.
Packer Nation worldwide.
This is my toys that I have to play with because I was in a... Okay, I'm going to hit this real quick. Just sure, like that. It's just carbon, I'm sure. I don't want it to be any kind of metallic anything. Or it may be some ash too.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
See, I'm not used to cooking with it. Now I don't know if I turned it on or not. I did. Okay, there's a blooper right there.